we're going to have 8 or 9 questions that we're going to ask, and we're going to give each of the candidates 2 minutes to answer, and then after each of the answers, then we'll give them up to a minute for rebuttal. And if there's time, after we get through all the questions, we'll have some questions from the audience, but they'll be, Carl and I will be answering. And after that, we will open up the floor to any of the other elected officials, elected official candidates who are here in the audience and who would like to speak, if they would like to speak for a couple of minutes.
Just a couple quick things. I'm Carl Curtis from the Chamber of Commerce. We ask you please to not applaud or make any catcalls, screams of support, any kind of verbal outbursts while we're doing the forum, please, until the very end. Just so you know what we're doing up here, and for the candidates, I'll be doing the timekeeping. When you have 30 seconds left for your answer, you will see the yellow. It says 30 seconds on it. And when it comes time to stop, I'll flip over the red, say stop. Please try to wrap up your answer within a sentence after you see stop if you haven't already done so. Again, there are some refreshments over there, and good luck.
Okay, first question. Last year, the Common Council underwent significant turnover and turmoil, and now we have our first contested mayoral election, as I mentioned, in 8 years. To Mayor Huckmer, explain why voters should choose to maintain the status quo at this position and why you should be reelected. And to Mr. Kemp, please explain how a new mayor would benefit Verona and why voters should choose you. And Mr. Kemp, you won the coin toss, so you're first.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. I appreciate it very much. Obviously, my name is Chad Kemp. I'm running for mayor of the city of Verona. The question is a very important one. I think we are at a crossroads here in the city of Verona, to be quite frank. We need to start moving the city forward. And by that, I mean we're going from a small, unique community into a larger area that we now live in. The issues that we are going to be facing over the next few years are significant. I think we need to have proactive and effective leadership that communicates directly with the citizens. Some of the things that we've seen happen since last April have been unfortunate. They haven't necessarily been the fault of the mayor by any means, but I do believe that we could have done some things in certain cases to make things a little smoother. For example, first and foremost, with the rollout of the downtown plan, most recently, we had a lot of citizens that were frustrated by the lack of communication from the city to the citizens themselves. I understand that the city is not necessarily legally obligated to inform people that are renting in buildings what's going to happen with that building, but I think that we can do better. I think that as a city, we should be informing our business owners as quickly as we possibly can what is happening with the plan. Secondly, the issue with the firefighters is something that really got me into the race, quite frankly. I think that that was something that could have been handled much better. I understand that the Police and Fire Commission is what really controlled that, but the mayor, unfortunately, was the fifth and deciding vote to move forward with the open hire that has now placed us in the middle of a lawsuit. I do not think that we should be going in that direction, and we could be doing a better job. Thank you.
And just to repeat the question, well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening as well. It's good to see a good turnout. Having competition is a good thing as well as healthy. So thank you for everyone coming, and thank you to the Chamber and the Verona Press for having the debate this evening. Why should you re-elect me as mayor? First of all, you know me, you trust me. I've been in the city since 1997. I've been a leader, as I've indicated to other people. I'm not ashamed of this in any way. I have been the main architect of the budget since 1997. When I came to the city, I saw that we were very, very dependent on the residential property taxpayer to fund the taxes for the city. So we said we needed to diversify our tax base. So I'm one of only 2 people that are on the council that was here when we negotiated the agreement to have Epic come here. A lot of people think that Epic doesn't pay any taxes. Epic does. They currently pay 29% of the total property taxes in the city of Verona. That's crucial. So because of that, we keep hearing about how great how hometown Verona is, and it is. We've got a great senior center and a new director that we just hired. We have an award-winning library. You name it. You can go down. We have public works programs and services and snow plowing that are second to none. And we're very proud of that, but none of those things would have happened had we not had good sound planning. And good sound planning is extremely important as we move forward. And I think because of my passion, my commitment, my experience, my knowledge of all different levels of government and the connections that I have, certainly we can continue to get things done. So I take a lot of credit for what's occurred in the past 10 or more years. And I don't apologize for any decisions that I've made. Thank you.
Okay, next question. Does anybody have a rebuttal?
Really quickly in rebuttal, I do think it's important for us to all understand whether or not someone has been, of course, around in the city does not necessarily equate whether or not they would make a good mayor moving forward. I'm not saying necessarily that Mayor Hokumer would not. I just want to make sure it's very clear that we can be doing certain things better. The issue with Epic, I know that Mayor Hokumer's predecessor, again, he wasn't on the council, but his predecessor was a key contributor in that as well. Along with that, I'd like to also state that experience doesn't necessarily bring about the best results. Again, the city right now is in the middle of a lawsuit, and nobody, as far as I can tell, has had any complaints with our 5 full-time firefighters. And that's something that is a concern to me moving forward. I want to steer us out of those types of situations if at all possible.
Just certainly I want to have a rebuttal to that. I do believe that it is important to have some experience and stability. And that's one of the things that I'm hearing as I'm going to the doors. With as much turnover as we've had on the council in the last year, people are saying that they really want stability. And that's extremely important. And that starts with the mayor at the top. And certainly the council has taken leadership from me, and I think that's extremely important. On the point of the lawsuit, and I hope that we get to talk about this a little bit more this evening, it wasn't the city that filed the lawsuit. I could have someone file a lawsuit tomorrow saying that I pushed them on my property at 7:15 tonight. They broke their leg, and I'm the cause of that, so they're going to file a lawsuit. It would be easy for me to prove that that did not occur. So a lawsuit was filed, and I understand why the lawsuit was filed, but let's let the process work.
Okay, we'll start with the mayor on this one. What is your personal vision for downtown Verona, and what can you do to help achieve it? Please include what you consider the downtown's biggest needs and its strengths.
I do want to talk about the vision of the downtown of Verona, but one of the first things I want to say is that as I'm going door to door and talking to people, one of the biggest questions I'm hearing is, why are you spending that much time on the downtown area? And what people are saying is the downtown area is very important, and it is. It's critical to the future of the city of Verona. But the downtown of Verona is not going to survive on its own. We need to have development that is on the periphery. A lot of people say that they want to have good restaurants. I keep hearing a good steak restaurant in the city of Verona. That's not going to happen in the downtown area unless we have parking, which is something that I proposed for a long time, some municipal parking lots. But the other things that I want to see in the downtown area, number one, I'm not a speeder. I would like to see the traffic at reasonable levels as far as how fast they flow through the city. I think we need to try and get some of the traffic off of Verona Avenue to make traffic easier. Long term, I think we need to take a look at an additional north-south thoroughfare somewhere near the city of Verona, not through the city of Verona, but to people to get up to Mineral Point Road. There really is no other way than to go up North Main Street and Highway M if you're coming from the south or the west to get where you want to go. Another part of my vision, and this is for the entire city, not just the downtown, my number one priority is public safety. It always has been, it always will. People need to feel safe and secure where they live, where they work, where they play. And I want people to be able to walk up and down our streets anytime, day or night, weekends, evenings, whenever, and they feel safe. That's extremely important.
Obviously, it is important for us to have a good, solid plan moving forward with the city of Verona. But more importantly, I think at some point we need to take some action with respect to the downtown plan. The mayor's been in office since 2006. I moved back to Verona in 2007, and one of the first comments that my wife had was, unfortunately, we don't have enough restaurants here. We have to keep driving to Fitchburg or to Middleton or to Madison. I don't believe that that's something that is necessary in Verona. I think we can do more, and I think we need to actually take proactive action. At this point, my question is simply, if we haven't done it now, at what point are we going to do it? I agree with the mayor that we need to make sure safety is a priority, and traffic definitely we need to make sure that we do everything we can to mitigate that. One concern I have is a lot of the development that we have seen while the mayor's been in office is really on the outside edges of the city. And so what's going to happen, my fear is that over time with East and West Verona Avenue, as we keep going out and further, we're going to end up with sprawl as opposed to a walkable, bikeable downtown. It's something that I know we don't want to turn East and West Verona into essentially a highway. We have to widen it at some point to mitigate some of the traffic. But the more we do on the outside edges as opposed to the downtown, the tougher it's going to be for us to deal with the traffic issues. Going further, my vision, I do want to see more choices for the citizens here. Right now, unfortunately, in the mornings, I can't wake up and take my two boys, Elliot and Kellen, out for pancakes unless it's at a bar. I don't have a problem with going to a bar. I enjoy that from time to time, but it would be nice for us to have a family restaurant here. And I think that's something that we can achieve, but we have to have some strong leadership, and we need to ask ourselves at what point are we going to start making some choices and taking action.
Well, certainly I'm glad that everyone wants to have more restaurants in the city, because I've talked to a lot of people about bringing restaurants here. And I can tell you, in the past year, some of those people that have talked to me in the past have indicated they're no longer interested in coming into Verona under this current scenario. They don't like the political makeup that they see. They're concerned about the future. They're concerned that there's too much focus on the downtown and not on the rest of the city, and they believe that they're going to fail. And I think that's, that really is a shame. So we got to make sure that doesn't happen. I agree with Chad, and Chad says that things have to happen. Well, it was the mayor, it was me who proposed that we buy a property that we could ease some of the parking restrictions in the city of Verona. In 2012, before any of the newly elected people were on the council, Alderman McGilvray and myself, we pushed to create the revolving fund through the Verona Economic Development Commission, and we did our first revolving loan with Edelweiss Cheese. So we have done things, we have more ideas. We will continue to push those ideas and move the downtown forward and the rest of the city.
One thing that I think is important for us to all realize is that we have to recognize who we are and who we are not. A lot of people are concerned about, Verona turning into Madison. Nobody lives here because they want to live in Madison. Everyone wants to live in Verona. I came to Verona in 1984 as a kindergartner at what was then Verona Elementary School, and it's now Sugar Creek. I do believe that choice is obviously important. I feel that we could be working better, the city could be working better with the business owners and the chamber in communicating with them and citizens and what we need to do moving forward. My concern, however, is that if the mayor does win re-election, that we're going to get more of the same. We're going to keep talking about the downtown redevelopment. We'll talk about the meetings. We'll keep having those in this room right here, and we'll never actually get anything done. At some point, you can't necessarily make the decision that's popular. You have to actually start picking a project and working small, and that's going to breed successes.
Epic's growth has presented many challenges in Verona, and one of them is traffic. We're already seeing massive projects on County PD and M and on 9 Mound Road, but we also need to take on traffic flow in other areas of the city. What is your opinion of the most recent studies done by MSA?
Well, obviously, with the addition of Epic, that has brought on a challenge, a significant challenge for the city of Verona. And traffic, I know that we are not Atlanta, Georgia, or Houston, Texas, but we do want to make sure that we can get through our city conveniently and safely. Obviously, the main intersection, North and South Main Street, and East and West Verona Avenue, we are going to have to upgrade. I've been talking to people at the doors. A lot of people are concerned about whether or not there's going to be a roundabout or an extra lane added. Are there things that are going to be moved? Are buildings going to need to be moved in that area? My concern, first and foremost, again, like the mayor stated earlier, and I agree with him on this as well, is that public safety is a #1 concern. So as we move forward, we try and look to what we should be doing with traffic patterns. We need to make sure that, one, our citizens are safe walking through the city and across that main intersection. And two, we also need to make sure that if we do have people riding on bicycles and, with children, I know a lot of people like, carrying their children on their bikes and through the summer, we need to make sure that that intersection is as safe as it possibly can be, while at the same time making sure that we keep traffic flowing through the city.
Well, as far as the traffic flow in the downtown area, and I've held back on my opinions because I wanted the study to take place. I wanted input from the public on what they felt was best. But very clearly, I feel that improving the current intersection that we have without doing a roundabout or without doing the paired one-ways is the best situation. Again, when I talk to people at the doors and when I was talking to people before I was campaigning, we really don't have that significant of a traffic problem in the city of Verona. It's busy early in the morning and it's busy later in the afternoon. It's not that long of a period of time, and people need to be patient. So we need to make sure that that intersection and other thoroughfares are safe for the traveling public and for the pedestrians and the bicyclists. But I don't think we have to spend the kind of money that we're talking about in the studies. That's a lot of money that I think that could be used much better for other purposes in the city. But I think that MSA has done a great job. MSA has done a lot of the public outreach. We've had people come to those meetings, and it was good to see people come to those meetings and provide their input. So I think that MSA has done a fantastic job, and I'm glad that I had an opportunity to work with them, with the city staff and our engineers, to bring the study where it is today.
Again, I will have to agree with the mayor. The traffic situation right now isn't terrible. I do remember on one occasion when I was driving from Postal Connections and I saw the traffic backed up about to Culver's, and this was in the evening. So it's understandable that during rush hour it's going to be busy there. My concern, however, is that moving forward, if we start adding 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 more people to the city, and this is going to happen, we need to start moving forward and kind of projecting what's the best course moving forward. The mayor mentioned also that the paired one-ways would not be good. I agree with that as well. I think that would actually hurt some of the businesses in the downtown. Roundabouts, obviously a lot of people have issues with that. I can understand that. Primarily, safety is the main concern, but I think we need to be much more forward-thinking in how we're approaching these issues, and quite frankly, take more action at a better pace. It's good to have the studies, it's good to have the meetings about these issues, but at some point, we need to take action.
Well, I'm really glad to see that we're agreeing on a lot of things. I think that's good for Chad, it's good for me, it's good for the city. So there's a lot of agreement, and that's a good thing. When we talk about taking action, I've been involved in a lot of those meetings. We hear about that there's lack of communication and public input. There have been countless hours that we have met. That we have met not only with MSA, that we have met with businesses, we have met with individuals, and we will continue to do that. The other thing, as far as leading and moving forward, I'll remind Chad, as John Volker reminded me when I ran for mayor in 2006, you have a lot more power as an alderperson than you do as mayor. Because as mayor, you only break the tie. In a case of a tie, is when you vote. So, the mayor is going to get blamed for a lot of things that some people don't like, but the mayor only votes in the case of a tie.
All right, after several years of a down economy, we are seeing positive signs all over the nation, and particularly in Verona. What are your economic development priorities, and what can we do as a city to encourage the best and most appropriate growth? Please don't forget to include some areas outside of downtown.
Well, certainly, any new development has to be appropriate, responsible development, and something that does not harm the environment. And some people don't believe that you can have development without harming the environment, and that's absolutely not the case. So we have raised the bar in the city of Verona as to the type of development that we're looking for and the type of development that we will approve, and we will continue to do that. Development has to occur. It's extremely important for the tax base and so forth. But I'm telling you that unless we have some development on the periphery, the downtown is going to have a very difficult time surviving. The downtown is not going to be able to make it on its own. The downtown is going to see businesses come in, and some of those businesses are going to fail. But they will not survive unless they have traffic flow, unless they have parking so people can stop and get out of their vehicles and go there. So that's part of the responsible growth. And so, I forgot the second part of your question, Jim. Can you repeat that?
Sorry. The second part was,
what can we do as a city to encourage the best and most appropriate growth?
Well, again, I think, we work with the developers, we talk to the people in the city and find out what they want. What do people want here? What do they deserve? And then we work with those developers to try and bring that type of development in. The other thing with development, a lot of times people think it's retail and commercial only. It also has a huge impact on what we do on the residential side of things. It has a huge impact on our school. When I first got on the council, there was very little action with the school, between the school and the city, and I changed that. So we have to work very closely with the school district because it has a huge impact. The residential growth has a huge impact on how the future of the school is.
I do think, as far as economic development is concerned, that it's important that we make sure that we're attracting the right kind of business for the city. Right now, we do have businesses in the downtown area, and we do need to have some development on the outside edges of the city, but not at the cost of losing the downtown permanently. Some things that I'd like to see happen is, as far as working with developers, I think it's also important that we're including the Chamber of Commerce, business owners, that we're talking to the citizens directly, like the mayor already stated, but getting a rapport and a conversation going between current businesses that are here to see what it is that they need and that would help their businesses flourish and grow. Competition sometimes is a good thing. I've talked to one owner of a business in the downtown area in particular who said that competition can be good for businesses here. I know the citizens of the city would like to see that too, because that would bring and afford us more choices here as well. But quite frankly, I think that the city could be doing a better job reaching out and working directly with the chamber and the business owners that are already here in Verona. It's also important that we're communicating directly with the city, with citizens and with the business owners that are here as well, so that they know what it is, what's happening moving forward, particularly in the downtown plan and anything that we do on the outside edge of the city. I think that right now we're in a situation, unfortunately, where that hasn't occurred in the best way possible. But moving forward, I know that that's something that we can improve on.
I'm glad to see that we agree again on the importance of the Chamber of Commerce, and Carl, I'm sure that you appreciate that as well. Before I moved to Verona, I was from Manitowoc, Wisconsin. I was involved with the Chamber of Commerce up there, and one of the things that they really appreciated is that I said we need to work just as hard to retain current businesses as to try and get new businesses here. So I know that Mr. Kemp is a member of the Chamber. Certainly the city of Verona is a member of the Chamber, and I have personally been a member of the Chamber as an individual since 2006 and have been active in the Chamber, meeting with the school districts and the other municipalities, meeting with business owners. So certainly we have that connection with business, and there's a lot of communication that's going on between the City Hall and business in the city.
Just to be clear, I want to make sure that the mayor understands we don't agree on everything. The communication between City Hall and someone like Sean Orion at Sojo Blau, who I actually sat on Friday night and watched 2.5 hours of a plan commission meeting. When she came before the planning commission meeting, she explained that she found out about the downtown plan, what was going to happen to the building she rents, from a client that came into her salon. That's a serious issue. We need to do a better job of communicating directly with the people that are here. I know that we can do that, and it wouldn't really take much to do that at all.
There was a lot of discussion last year during budget season about not just what was in the budget, about the process and how much of it was easily accessible to the public. Should the city bring the public into the process earlier with more involvement in discretionary items, or is it more appropriate to let elected officials hash out most of the details at the finance committee level and have a late discussion of the priorities as we did last November?
Well, I don't think that you can include the entire community on every single decision. That's why we do have committees. But I do think that it is important that the government is as transparent as it possibly can be. People, I think, tend to lose faith in government when things like I just mentioned before happen, where people are finding out about things at the last minute, or they haven't heard out about them at all. The budget process that we went through last year, I can't say we because I'm not an elected official, but the city went through last year, was contentious, obviously. I think that the discussion was good because there was debate, and debate, breeds transparency in government. So it's essential that people know and are aware of what's going on, but you can't necessarily include them on every single decision. Those maybe need to happen at the committee level. The good thing, though, that I can say is that every single elected official was able to kind of state where they stood on the issues. And the individual here in the city was able to, if they kept up with it in the news, was able to look and see exactly where everyone stood on spending and other issues here in the city.
The process that we used for the city budget in 2013 was really no different than the process that we've used for many, many years. In a lot of the prior years, no one from the public came even at the public hearing on the budget. We have been very transparent with all the budget discussions that we've had. Every one of the meetings of the Finance Committee and the Council are all public notice meeting, and the public is available. Cable TV is there. Verona Press is at most of those meetings. So we are transparent. There is a responsibility of the public to become aware of what's going on as well. One of the big differences that I have, I think, with a lot of other elected officials when it comes to government is I believe that elected officials should approve budgets. That's very important. I also believe that elected officials should set policy, but then they should get out of the way and let the people that they hire, the professionals, the people that work in the trenches day after day after day, they should be making some of those decisions. So I think we set parameters of where we want to end up. The city staff works very closely with all the department heads, and that's how you develop a budget. The reason that there was contention, in my opinion, in last year's budget is because, mainly because of the library. And I think it was inexperience with some of the new alders in the budgeting process, and they thought that all this money was available, that we could do all these great things. Well, the fact is, there isn't all this money that's available. And when we talk about budgeting, we have to remember that it's the taxpayers' dollars and not our dollars, and that we need to spend those dollars very wisely.
I mean, with respect to what happened last year in the budget process, I don't think you can necessarily blame it on any one alder particularly. Everybody is sent there by the voters to do a job. So to blame it on people that have just been elected with inexperience isn't necessarily true. To go even further, I would expect alders that have been in office would reach out to newer people that have been elected and kind of show them, the best way to move forward since they're newer and newly elected officials. The budget itself, however, again, they came to an agreement, and essentially at the beginning they kind of had the same number, about a 3% increase. That was what was targeted from the beginning. There were some things that happened during that process, however, that was contentious. People are uncomfortable with that, and I understand that. It doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad thing. So again, we need to make sure that we're working together, and to blame it just on a few select group of people, I think, is disingenuous.
Well, you can't hide the fact that last April there were 4 new alders elected to the Common Council, and another new person, Alderman Barrett, who I respect and like, was appointed. That means 5 of 8 votes. The mayor doesn't vote unless there's a tie. So when we talk about the process, if the process was flawed and it wasn't good, it was contentious, those 5 people have control of the council. And they have to keep that in mind. They've had that since last April. So we had heard that there was going to be all this change, that people wanted change, and there was a mandate. Then why didn't the change occur? They have 5 of the 8 votes, and maybe they could even convince some of the others. The change didn't occur. So I'd look at it as inexperience and a learning process, and hopefully, and I think that we will see some better interaction in the future.
What did the city and/or the police and fire commission have done differently over the past year to have prevented the uproar we had last fall about the transition to the new fire department and now the litigation that the city is involved in?
Well, first of all, the Police and Fire Commission, I'm glad that you asked the question because there's a lot of rumors going around about the city making bad decisions. State law requires that when it is the city fire department, that is the Police and Fire Commission working with the chief, that does the hiring, the discipline, and the firing and so forth. It's not the city council. And that law has long been in place in the state of Wisconsin so that meddling doesn't occur. And meddling could be by the mayor. You know, let's say I was a newly elected mayor on April 1st, and I had a beef with the fire chief, or I had a beef with firefighters. State law prohibits me from doing that. It goes and getting rid of those employees. You have to do that through the Police and Fire Commission, who serve on staggered terms. It provides stability and safety for the public, for public safety issues. It also provides some safety for those employees that are currently working there, that you don't have all this change overnight. So what could we have done differently as a city? And again, it was the Police and Fire Commission that made that decision. We could have not followed state law. But that would not have been the right thing to do. The Police and Fire Commission determined what they believed was the best process, which was an open hiring process. And one of the things about open hiring is that anyone can apply, including the current firefighters in the district who get to apply, and they were guaranteed that they would have an opportunity to interview. 2 individuals in the city of Verona, current residents of the city of Verona, who are firefighters in another municipality, have said to me, they asked me what open hiring meant. And when I explained it to them, they said, you mean open hiring, I could apply? I currently am a qualified firefighter in a different municipality, and if we followed what some of the newly elected officials are saying and what the lawsuit says, that current residents who are paying property taxes in the city of Verona, who are qualified firefighters, wouldn't even have the opportunity to serve their community. So what could we have done differently? The Police and Fire Commission, they could have not followed state law.
This is an issue that's really near and dear to my heart. Quite frankly, I understand what the mayor is saying, that the Police and Fire Commission sets the standards and they move forward with the process. It's important to understand, however, that the mayor was the 5th and deciding vote. And he talked earlier about the mayor, about, you know, you can't do anything unless it's a tie. He was the 5th and deciding vote that triggered that lawsuit. So working backwards from that, my question is, what were the issues with the 5 full-time firefighters that we have serving the community right now that required an open hire? Were there disciplinary issues ongoing inside of the fire district at that time that we're not aware of? Were those issues being documented appropriately? And if not, why not? But again, as I'm going around and knocking on doors, I have not met one person yet who has had a complaint about the firefighters in the city of Verona. Not yet, not one individual. So I'm extremely concerned about this because it feels a lot like what we saw happening, quite frankly, at the state level. There's no explanation as to why this is occurring. And I understand what the mayor is saying about state law. But again, he was the 5th and deciding vote that triggered essentially a lawsuit. And we still have no idea what was going on. I'm not saying that if people are not doing their jobs appropriately, if they're, for instance, being insubordinate, that we should support that. Absolutely not. Quite frankly, it's the opposite of that. If those kinds of things are going on, it's important that we make sure that we get that kind of behavior written down for liability issues. But again, the mayor was the tie-breaking vote in this case that triggered a lawsuit that I still have no idea why we're in the middle of that.
Well, 2 issues here. First of all, it was a fire district and not a city department. So the city officials were not privy to whether or not there were any performance problems with the current firefighters or not. But what people are saying is that, oh, there have to be problems because there's an open hiring process. the open hiring process allows anyone who wants to apply to be a firefighter. I think that's a good thing. I was a firefighter. I was a certified arson investigator. I have personally crawled into burning buildings on my hands and knees with a hose next to me and a partner next to me, because you have to do that for safety reasons. I want to make sure that I have the most qualified individual as my firefighting partner to do that. Secondly, the boat that I broke to tie, I don't know how anybody can say that that triggered a lawsuit, but that boat was to allow the Police and Fire Commission to expend dollars to do the testing and certification and advertising. It had nothing to do with the lawsuit, and if anybody tries to tell you that it is, that's completely false.
In response to that, my question again is, moving forward, in the past, as opposed to moving forward with an open hire, we have 5 individuals here that have served the community well. The mayor, like he mentioned, was a firefighter. He's put his life on the line. The individuals that we have working for us do the same thing every day. I think we need to treat our workers with respect. When we decided to go with an open hire, why didn't we perhaps, on a probationary basis, move the 5 individuals that have already been serving in Verona on a probationary basis to the brand new city department from the district? Why wasn't that an option? Because quite frankly, it has caused serious problems. If there were disciplinary issues internally inside of that district, then it's important that those things are notated. But quite frankly, I think we could have done a better job with the process in and of itself, and we did not need to end up where we are.
All right, we're going to soften up a little bit here and go to more community type stuff. If budgets and spending limits did not prevent it, what is one project you would champion to improve the quality of life in Verona? And can it be achieved even with the budget limits that we're talking?
Well, this is a good question, and I talked to a couple people, and I'm sure that this was one that they were hoping would come up. If you had a magic wand, what would you do for the city of Verona? Quite frankly, I think it would be great for the city to have a pool. A lot of communities all around us do have swimming pools. You go to Mount Horeb, I take my kids there, out to Mount Horeb, Middleton, Fitchburg. I know that this is, quite frankly, a difficult task, but we could do that. I also talked with a couple other individuals that think, with the sporting areas we have out here over by Stanfield Field, that we could have an Olympic-sized competition pool as well. That's something that is an idea as well. Could bring more people here to the city. Whether or not it's possible to do those things, obviously we have to assess whether that's a reasonable thing that we could do. But I think adding to the quality of life, having a pool, an outdoor pool for families, for children, would be a great thing. A lot of people do live here. They enjoy getting out in the summer. They don't necessarily want to have to drive to the Middleton Splash Pad or the Fitchburg one or the Mount Horeb one.
Well, this may seem a little odd, and my wife will certainly be surprised when I say this. I agree with Chad, and I was going to say the same thing. I know that there was a referendum shortly before my family moved to Verona, and that referendum failed. I've heard from a lot of people in this community that we need a swimming pool, we need an natatorium. I can tell you honestly, I have signed confidentiality agreements because I have talked to individuals and companies that are interested in doing that very thing in the city of Verona. I have said all along that even though I cannot swim, I absolutely cannot swim, that I would support a swimming pool in the city. I think we also have other opportunities to work with the school district, and the fact that the University of Wisconsin is closing their natatorium, there's a demand, and we are known as a recreation mecca. Now, I think Chad would probably agree, we have never talked about this, but when you build a swimming pool, it is not a moneymaker. It is not. It's an investment into the community, and I think it would be good because we keep the youth active, and I think that's very important. It also can provide adult programs and can do a lot of things for our seniors in the community. So I support that, but whenever we take a look at public facilities, I think we should also seize the opportunity to do things in conjunction. I was a huge proponent of looking at a community center and a library at the same time. And that didn't occur because of land restrictions and other things. So when we work, whether it's a swimming pool or a natatorium, we should also look for other opportunities that we can do. Maybe it's a community center, maybe it's a youth center, but we need to think big picture.
I just have to say, honestly, if the mayor can't swim, I will be more than willing to help him learn how to swim, because I love it. So, but again, I mean, we agree on that point. A pool would be great, but we have to make sure if this is something moving forward that we do decide to do, it has to be done reasonably. We have to make sure that we have the funds to do it, and more importantly, we have to make sure environmentally that it's a sound plan as well. So, thank you.
I was just going to add that, you know, we need to be smart about how we spend money, and hopefully one of the questions we'll have again is talking about the closure of the Epic TIF. And if we really want to do some of the things that you're hearing tonight, what Chad and I are saying, we have to be smart with how we move forward. Again, what I've always said is that we need to take care of our core services first. We are near the final design and stage then to build for the new public, for the fire station and EMS station. We get that behind us, and there's a lot of other great things that we can do, and we will make this community even prouder than they are today.
In the new age of social media and the internet, does the city have a responsibility to increase its outreach efforts with citizens? And what should be the top priority in that regard, if so?
I'm a part of a newer generation. I'm 34 years old, so I'm a part of this younger group of people that are using social media, but I also have a 65-year-old father who all of a sudden is now on Facebook as well. So I do think that the city should be using these types of social media platforms to reach out to citizens. It's very efficient. I'm able to go online and check out and see what's going on in just about with anyone on the planet. And I think the city of Verona could do could reach out much better and much quicker if we were using some of those items. I should say you do have to be careful using these things. You can't just go out there willy-nilly and use Facebook or LinkedIn or what have you. You need to, again, have a plan on how you would do that, who would maintain the passwords and keep track of what's actually being posted. But I could see that being a great way to increase the connection between citizens and the city. That being said, some of the ways that we have used or communicated with people in the past is still going to be important. So writing a letter to citizens and sending them out through traditional mail is always going to be a standard. Not everyone has a computer, not everyone is able to get online. Some people just don't. My mom is an example. She still asks me, like, where do I type in CNN.com or FoxNews.com? She has no idea. So it's important that we are making sure that we're maintaining what we've done in the past with reaching out to citizens, but at the same time moving into the future as well.
Chad said he's 34. I've got a 34-year-old daughter, and they're good friends, so I just thought I would state that too. So, I'm 58 years old, and I use social media. Jim's question mentioned the word outreach. That's in my title of what I do on a daily basis where I work for the Wisconsin Counties Association. I believe that the more outreach that we can do, the better. But there never is an end to outreach. There never is an end to communication. You can always do better. So certainly we need to use Facebook and Twitter and all the things that people are using, and it changes almost daily what people are using. So again, we can always improve what we do as far as communication, and people want to know. And the other thing is that there's people that are moving around. I've got a lot of friends that live in the city of Verona that take a couple months off, and they go somewhere where it's warmer, especially in a year like this year, but yet they want to know what's going on in the city. So absolutely, we can do more outreach with the social media, but I agree with Chad that we need to continue a lot of the things that we've done in the past because people expect that as well.
As the north side of the city grows closer to Madison, what can we do to ensure a clear delineation between the two municipalities, and how important is it?
Well, one of the agreements that we currently have with the city of Madison, and we talk about communication, we communicate with them all the time, and with the town of Verona. We have in writing what needs to be done, and there needs to be a buffer between the two communities. Now, those agreements are going to expire in the very near future, so we need to continue to talk with the city of Madison on new agreements. But we do have some natural things that are happening in that area, north of PD, and there's the golf course and other things, so there is somewhat of a natural buffer, but I think it is extremely important that Verona is very unique, and we want to make sure that that delineation between the two is there. and it has us as a separate community. We're very proud of our community. That's one of the things that we really heard during the merger and consolidation talks, that we are one Verona, and we are one community, and that's really important. But I do believe that there needs to be a buffer, because Madison is very different than Verona. And I hear that over and over from people that previously lived in the city of Madison. They came to Verona because they wanted something different, and they have something different. Now they want to make sure that we don't move in the direction that the city of Madison is in. And not that the city of Madison is bad, it's just that the people that live there want a different lifestyle, and that's fine if that's what they want.
I think it is very important that we make sure we keep what's unique about Verona, Verona. I agree. I moved back to Verona after finishing law school because I wanted to raise my children in this community. I grew up in Fitchburg, but I love the city of Verona. So I think that it's important that we make sure that we're working with the city of Madison to keep a buffer between the two. We want to make sure that we're always looking out for what's important to our citizens and our city first and foremost. But again, like the mayor stated, people live here for a reason, whether it's the schools, whether it's the lifestyle here, what have you. We're close enough to Madison, we don't need to become Madison. I think that's important for everyone to understand. Secondly, working with the town, I know in the past has been somewhat difficult, but we also need to consider what they're doing as well. Do we want to continue to let them develop? I know it's a shrinking community, but it's important that we make sure that the city maintains good relations with them as well. So I think that moving forward, we need to make sure that there's a buffer for the people that live here and that have chosen to live in the city of Verona.
Not a rebuttal, but just some additional information. One of the things that we're talking about in the North Neighborhood Plan is that there would be even traditional residential type of, a different type of housing, where we could move from retail and commercial into some more multifamily, smaller lots with the traditional neighborhoods, and then move into the single family. So we talk about that buffer, we talk about the transition, and we can do that, provide different levels of housing in the city of Verona, and still have our unique look and feel for the city of Verona.
One thing I can say, I talked to an individual who actually was a resident here in Verona and was a business owner. He recently moved out. I'd like to see some senior housing, perhaps for individuals that are homeowners here now, but don't necessarily want to mow the grass, want to clear the snow. My parents, they just recently sold their last home there in a condo. It'd be great to get more senior housing here in the city. I know that we talked yesterday, the council passed a plan to include some of that, but that might be an area where we could do more of that to provide more stock for people that want to have a home here in Verona, but don't necessarily want to have a single family home either.
Okay, you're going to have to excuse the clumsy nature of this because this was a suggestion that was made for a question, and I haven't had time to narrow it down. When the Epic TIF closes, that will be in 2015, and it will affect the 2016 budget, which means that the winner of this election will be involved in that. State statutes will require a tax cut of at least 50% of the revenue that's recovered from that. And that still leaves close to $1 million. That sounds about right?
About 865.
Restoring previous spending policies like roads, the way that the roads are financed, and filling other gaps, such as the one that will be left by the eroding fund balance, will take about 2/3, perhaps 3/4 of that money. That still leaves some discretion. And the mayor, though, as you point out, doesn't get to vote unless there's a tie, still has a lot of influence on the way the initial budget was put together. So what priorities would you put in that budget, that 2016 budget, from the discretionary amount of money that's left over?
Like you stated right away, 50% of that will go to tax relief. What I'd like to see the city do is curb some of the borrowing that we're doing currently. I know right now we are borrowing the full amount to continue with our road repair. I'd like to see us curb some of that if at all possible. Everyone in here has, you know, their finances, their personal finances that they have to manage. If I have $100 in my pocket, I can't go out and spend 101. I understand that sometimes within a municipality you need to do some borrowing to maintain services and things of that nature. I do, however, think that perhaps we could curb some of the borrowing with respect to road repair. This is an issue that I'm concerned with. It's really easy to say that you know, you're doing your best to keep taxes low, or to go out and say, I'm going to cut my grocery bill in half by using a credit card, but you're still using a credit card. So I'd like to see us use some of the TIF money that we get coming back, not only, of course, for tax relief, but also to curb some of the spending that we have here in the city with borrowed funds. In addition to that, I should also note, with the last budget, a good portion of the revenue was used to pay for some of the interest that we have because we're borrowing money to repair our roads. I'd like to see us try and pay some of that down if we could.
I'm really glad to hear that. And I'm going to be even a little bit more specific because I've got some ideas what I would do based on the estimated $865,000 that would come in. First of all, $65,000 now, approximately $65,000 of staff time is included as part of our EPIC costs with the TIF. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to fill that hole of $65,000 because otherwise it's a hole in the budget moving forward. Secondly, we're currently using $275,000 a year, we have for the last several years, of undesignated fund balance because we're trying to draw that down because we have more in our rainy day fund or undesignated fund reserve than what our approved, our written goals, our plans are for our financial policy. So we're currently spending that down by $275,000. Once we get down to that, to the appropriate level, then we have to fill that hole of 275. So 65 plus now 275,000. As Chad mentioned, we're borrowing the money for the mill and overlay of the city streets. I think we ought to go back to 50% of debt and 50% sort of pay as you go. So the people that are currently paying the property taxes would pay that. That's $400,000. And then I would suggest there's $125,000 left of the $865,000, and we take that and put it into a replacement equipment fund, mainly for public works, so that as we purchase new equipment, we're not borrowing the dollars, we're using those dollars that are there every day. If we do those things with the 50% that has to go for property tax relief, and do the things that I just said, the city portion of your taxes, which is about 30%, will go down a minimum of 8% in 2016. I think that's extremely important. That's leadership. That's a specific plan of what we could do. And it would help us, not just for 1 year, it helps us every year down the road after that.
It's also, oh, sorry. No, it's all right. It's also important to note that our plan with the money that we do get back from the EPIC TIF closing has to be balanced and moderate. I think that we could be looking at how, as we continue to grow, what are we going to do with respect to staff in the city? We continue to grow, we're going to need to make sure that we're keeping up with the obligations that we have to our citizens. There may be certain individuals or certain positions that we may need to fill. That's an option that we could also consider. That being said, I want to make sure that everyone understands it's something that needs to be done with moderation. We can't necessarily go out and hire a lot of people. We need to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we keep our budget balanced, we keep enough money in reserve in case of emergencies and things of that nature.
I agree that we need to be balanced and we need to be responsible how we do that spending. About 65%, 64 point some percent of our total budget is employee costs. And I think the newly elected people on the council, I think 100% of you will agree with me that we run a very lean operation when it comes to city staff. And certainly we need to add city staff and we have to be responsible in how we do that. But I want to be very responsible and cautious how we do that, because one thing that I'm very proud of in my time as leading the Manitowoc County as County Board Chair, and now as the Finance Committee Chair and as the Mayor of Verona, we have never done a layoff. We have never done a cutback in pay. We have never done a furlough. We have never told people that are working for the city that they have to go home because we can't afford to pay them. And I don't ever want to be in that position. We expect something of our employees, and in return, they expect something from us.
Okay, we're going to switch to 90 seconds per answer and no rebuttals. We're just going to go through some questions that have been asked from the audience. First one is, Verona does not yet have many of the crime problems Madison is dealing with. What concrete steps can the city take to avoid ending up with the pockets of nastiness Madison has sprung up?
Well, one of the concerns when people talk about multifamily, especially apartment buildings, that we have too many I'm not saying that we have too many, but when you locate too many apartment buildings in one location, you have problems. I mean, it's a fact, it's proven, that when you put that many people close together, too many multifamily, crime goes up. We have some of that problem in Verona, but not a lot, not as bad as some areas of Fitchburg and Sun Prairie as well. It's because of bad decisions, poor decisions, I think, that they've made in the past. So when we take a look at our housing that we approve, future housing in the city, I think it's extremely important how we plan that, where it's located, and a big key in that, especially in the multifamily, what we've done with the new apartments that have been built recently in the city of Verona, is make sure that they are of a high quality, and that so that they're not run down and they're, in 20 years somebody else takes ownership, and then that's when you start having problems. So high quality, and be very smart about where you locate them and how much you put in one location.
You just asked specifically about what we can do to make sure we don't have pockets of crime popping up in Verona. I think it's a very simple answer. It's just we need to make sure that we support our police department and that we have good, sound policing. I think it has, I understand what the mayor's saying, that sometimes when you have apartment buildings and people living closer together, you may have issues. I don't think that those two are, that's exclusive just to apartment buildings. Crime can happen anywhere. It could happen in homes, domestic violence issues and things of that nature, whether or not people are, driving under the influence. I do think that we need to make sure that we are supporting our police department. And then moving forward, I think as we continue to grow, we need to make sure that we have the necessary people on staff to take care of any issues that we do have. It's not necessarily going to just be in apartment buildings where things are happening. It could be really anywhere.
What can city government do to help increase tourism and the money that follows it?
Well, I think some of this has to do with just a general attitude. We need to bring some excitement to the city of Verona. I think we have a great event with Hometown Days in the summer, but I think what we could be doing as a city to promote Verona more is reaching out again with the chamber and with business owners here and try and think of things that we could be doing together to attract new business. Tourism is a tricky thing. We are, just outside of Madison, Wisconsin, but we do have great new businesses like the local brewery. We're not too far from other towns like Mount Horeb and, of course, New Glarus. They have the New Glarus brewery there as well. But I think Verona is in an interesting situation. We have, we have a difficult time with this, and I think it's something that, with new leadership at the top, we could work together with the chamber and other business owners to try and bring some excitement to the city. And I think that's something right now that quite frankly, we're just lacking.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about working with the chamber again, because twice since I've been on the city council, once since I've been mayor, worked with the Chamber of Commerce and their Economic Development Committee. Most of you are familiar with the show Discover Wisconsin. Twice they have come into the city of Verona and highlighted some of the great things that we do, and those shows are broadcast statewide multiple times. So that's one of the things that we have done. We've also worked with the Chamber of Commerce with the room tax dollars. They get 70% of all the room tax dollars that come into the city of Verona that they can use to what is stated as heads in the bed is what they're looking for, to get more people to stay in our community. We're looking at very soon, very likelihood of having another hotel in the city of Verona. So certainly we've done a lot to promote tourism. The chamber has funded the billboards that people tell me they see when they drive up and down the interstate, And so we're doing a lot for Verona as far as promotion. We can do more.
This will be the last one before we have a closing statement. What question do you wish had been asked tonight, and how would you have answered it?
Well, I think one of the questions, and because I serve as the Dane County, president of the Dane County Cities and Villages Association, I'm very aware of what a struggle it is to get development approved in new urban service areas. So I think one of the questions that if it were asked tonight, do I support responsible development, and would I support urban service areas that we can grow in this city? Now, we talked about doing something in the North Neighborhood Plan, the schools taking a look at buying properties for school districts. We have a very little area right now where they would be able to build, especially residential areas where we could build without getting additional urban service area. So I think one of the specific questions that should be asked is, would we support an application for an urban service area so that sewer and water could be run into development that we could continue to grow as a city? Because if we don't have development, we're going to have major budget problems, and if we think the city is going to have it bad, it's going to be much more of a struggle for our schools. And that's why most people have moved to the city of Verona, because of the schools. That's why my family moved here. So development is critical to the future of the city of Verona. We just need to make sure that it's responsible.
One question that I, quite frankly, wish would have been asked was what we could be doing more so with the school system that we have here. I'm a product of the Verona School District. It's a great school. I moved back here so that my two boys could go to school here. I went to school with John's daughter, Rachel. I wish we could have had a question about that, because I do think that the city and the school system could be working much more in concert to try and solve some of the issues that do exist inside of the school system. We also are going to have to be looking at some point down the road at a new elementary school. I know that's an issue that's coming up. That's going to be important in what we're going to do with that. So I think that's a question that's very pertinent. If anyone would like to hear what I have to say about that, obviously you can come up and ask me. So, thank you.
Okay, each of you has 2 minutes for closing, however you'd like to close. Chad, you're okay.
Well, I thank everyone for having us here. It's really great to get out here and talk about the issues. I think this is an important election. The city is definitely growing. We all know that. It's important that moving forward we have someone who's going to be willing to make decisions and is proactive in making decisions for the city of Verona, not just about the downtown, not just about traffic, but in every single situation. It's important also that we have someone that will treat our workers with respect and understand that people are working and serving the community, and they should be treated with respect. I also wanted to communicate and make sure everyone understands that even though I'm a younger individual, I do care about the community. I came here in 1984 as a kindergartner and was here through 1997. You could probably go over to the library and find a pretty embarrassing picture of me in 1996 as the homecoming king, and I was about 120 pounds. So I do have roots here in the city, and I love Verona, and I want to see us move forward into the 21st century. It's important, though, however, that we have someone that's able to work with all individuals, regardless of their opinions or where they come from politically, and that we're able to work together and keep in mind that the #1 priority is what we can be as a city and what we can do for our community. That's the #1 thing that we all need to keep in mind. I'm concerned, quite frankly, about some of the things that have happened in the last year. I know that there were newly elected officials, but I think that we can do better. I know that we can do better, and the city has a bright future. I thank you for your time, and again, if you have any questions, I welcome them, and you all have a great evening. Thank you.
Well, again, I think why you should re-elect me as your mayor, I'm a proven leader. I've been involved with the city council since 1997. I take great pride in the fact that I've been the main architect of the budget, and the budget that we have for the city of Verona, or I should say the financial condition that we are for the city of Verona, is second to none. If we have an issue, which in the 2006 campaign was that we had too much money in reserve, that's a great problem to have, #1. The second thing that I want to point out is every time that I've been elected, and I've been elected many times to office, I take an oath. I take an oath to uphold the Wisconsin Constitution, the United States Constitution, and to do the job that I've been elected to do to the best of my ability, faithfully, impartially. And I take that vote very serious in every decision that I made. And I can't remember a single time that I feel bad about a vote that I've taken or a position that I've taken. And I think that that's extremely important. As we move forward, there's a lot of things that are going to happen. We need to make sure that they happen in the right way. We need to make sure that we do communicate. And one of the big things that when I hear about communication and lack of communication is the first thing that we need to do as a communicator is to listen. What I'm hearing a lot is people saying, oh, they got all these great ideas and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, but they aren't listening to what the people actually want and what the people are actually saying. So I think that that's extremely important as we move forward. Chad mentioned about working with people that have different ideas. I will tell you, one of the things that I am most proud of in my entire life is that I was elected to serve for about 9 years as the Senate Sergeant at Arms. The majority, while I was there, was 17, 16. The majority switched several times, and I was the first Sergeant at Arms in the history of the state to survive a switch in majority. That tells you that I can work with people of all different levels, people with different opinions, and people with different political parties.
Okay, that's an hour's worth of debate for the mayoral candidates. We'd like to thank Mayor Hokemer and Chad Kemp for doing this for us this evening. Now we've set aside just a few minutes of time. If there are any candidates for office in Verona who are on the ballot in Verona, if you're in Rock County, we don't want to hear from you, but who would like to come up for 2 minutes, and I'm going to be timing you, please come to the podium and we'll just do it in whoever's closest. And we'll give you 2 minutes to introduce yourself to the folks here in the audience. So why don't you come on up first? Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for the time. My name is Jack Linder. I am excited about running for District 2 Alderman for the City of Verona. For those who don't know, I have been on the City Council before. From 2006 to 2008, I was on City Council. During that time, I was on the Finance Committee. I was a member of the Public Safety and Welfare Committee and the chairman of that, and also on the Fire Commission. I'm excited about the decisions we make in the city. I like the finance portion of it. It's very exciting to me. I like representing the people of Verona, and I love the feedback I get from people. I like talking to people about what's going on and what's happening. A little background for me, I went to the University of Wisconsin and graduated in electrical engineering. During the early 2000s, I went back to school and got a master's degree in business from Edgewood College. Currently I'm married. I've got 5 kids, and the oldest is 10, the youngest is 1. And so I'm very involved with the rec sports, with the school districts. The Planning Commission is what I'm on currently right now, and I've been doing that for 5.5 years. I stepped back for a second. I left the council in 2008 because my wife and I decided to move to a different part of Verona. We built a house near Epic, and that happened to be out of the district, so I had to leave the council. But I'm excited to come back. I look forward to representing the city of Verona as best of my abilities, and thank you for your time.
Snuck right around you, Carl. I apologize. I'm a little under the weather tonight, so I apologize for my congestion. Been out knocking on doors, I think, a few too many times, and then under the weather is actually literally true this time. This has been a brutal winter, but it's been great to be out there and talk to people. And I just want to say thanks to the Verona Press and Mr. Feroli and Mr. Curtis and the Chamber and the Senior Center for hosting us tonight. This was a great debate, and I certainly appreciate hearing from both of those candidates. And I'm disappointed I didn't get to have a debate tonight with my opponent. He declined to be here tonight, but it's his birthday, so it's a good excuse, and I wish him a happy birthday. I don't blame him for not wanting to do this on his birthday. So my wife Tristan and I, who's here tonight, we chose to live in Verona and buy a house here because of Verona's hometown feel and hometown values, and that's something that I certainly want to respect and continue as we move forward in the city, as we grow. And those values are sort of our hardworking people, pragmatic policies, and a feeling that everyone and everything is close to the next. And I feel like those values certainly match my own values. And I work hard to do this job, prepared for meetings, ask tough questions. I think all of my colleagues will certainly agree that maybe I ask too many questions sometimes, or meetings can go fairly long. But I always try to put what's best for Verona first, and I've done my best to get input from voters. I held a listening session last fall along with my fellow Alder Heather Reekie for District 4, and I certainly respond to every constituent concern that I receive. So it would be an honor to continue representing the 4th District. I have 10 years of experience working with all levels of government, and my stances on issues and those values that I mentioned earlier certainly make me the best candidate. And I said Verona is the fastest growing city in the state. I think that presents some opportunities, but also certainly some challenges. We have to keep Verona safe, we have to maintain and expand city services, revitalize our downtown and grow smartly. And we have to encourage public input and communicate clearly and openly with voters. And finally, in our budgets, we need to protect taxpayers and provide some tax relief. And if you live in the 4th District, I would appreciate your vote. I love doing this job. I just want to continue doing it. I need votes to keep doing it. So please vote for me April 1st. And thank you, Carl, for the extra time.
Well, we'll give you 2 extra seconds because you didn't tell me your name.
I thought I could say that. Mike Baer represents the 4th District. Would love to continue doing it. Thank you.
Any other city candidates here or any of our county candidates here? If not, I'm just not going to mess with the microphone. Thank you very much for being a good audience today and showing up and showing interest in the community. Unfortunately, we could not get to all the questions we promised to give you to a certain time limit.
Because I'm not washing my outside windows anymore.
Please remember the votes, first Tuesday in April, and thanks again for coming out.
Thank you.